Hello, everybody. Today we're here with Cliff Reiter of PAS, that's Practice Accounting Sales, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about what it takes to buy and sell your practice. He's one of our corporate sponsors with MSATP, and we look forward to just having a brief chat with him. So, Cliff, tell us a little bit about Practice Accounting Sales.
Well, Practice Accounting Sales and its sister corp, National Accounting Sales, is a brokerage firm that helps your members buy, sell, or merge accounting practices. It could be their whole practice, it could be portions of the practice, and we generally represent the seller in the transaction, but we're here to help people who are interested in an acquisition strategy buy a practice as well.
Okay. And is it very complicated to get involved in trying to sell your practice?
Not when you use me,
No?
even though I think it's much more complicated when you try to do it on your own. It's kind of like the analogy I would use with a practitioner. Is it easier to use one of your members, or try to use TurboTax to do a more complicated tax return? We try to take the stress out of the situation.
Okay. Is it a lot of prep work that goes into getting your practice ready to sell?
It depends. Normally, I tell people they should, if they're not thinking of selling for a couple of years, work on your receivables, especially. You want to try to get them more paid up. It might be a little bit, if you haven't raised fees in a couple of years, I would suggest trying to do that in anticipation of doing this. Not dramatically, but it precludes maybe the purchaser of wanting to raise fees, or say they're not comparable, and it increases the price a little bit, and maybe somebody who was thinking of leaving is more solidified in terms of turning over the client base. Okay.
When you're putting it together, I guess some of the things that you would need to do would be to put your receivables together, your client list together, your asset list. Are there any other things that practitioners should be looking at? Like, should he put a policy and procedure manual into place? And
I don't know if you need a policy procedure manual, because the buyer is probably going to change that. But you might, with staff, have a list of employees or have that ready. You might also, and sometimes this isn't always easy to do, but having non-competes and non-solicitation agreements with staff can help not have clients walk out the door and walk away. So when you've had people for 25 years and you never asked for it, it's tough to ask for it. And the reason why, and then you probably can't ask for it because it could create a spark and have people ask, what are you trying to do, Bill? Why are you asking for this all of a sudden after all these years of never asking for it?
Right. Okay. If we wanted to sell our practice, we would get in touch with you, and I guess you vet the prospective buyers and things like that to bring good offers to the table for us.
That's correct. And usually nobody gets to know who, and even though I'm a New Yorker at heart, and everybody says we're paranoid, I'm not a paranoid person, but I'm paranoid about your confidentiality. So what I would suggest on the confidentiality side, that's why we try to, nobody will get to know who you are until they sign a non-disclosure agreement. And even once they sign that, you will have to approve who they are.
Okay. So about how long start to finish does it generally take
I would say,
just generally.
I normally, in normal times, 3-4 months, no more than that. Usually in a lot of areas, in major metropolitan markets. In more rural areas, it could be 4 to 6.
Um, so if we look at it start to finish in, say, 3 or 4 months, now, do most people who are buying the practice want the seller to stay on for some period of time? So that,
That's probably the most negotiable item. Being a seller's broker, I usually like the seller to tell me what they want, and that's what I try to negotiate.
okay,
I prefer that they stay on, especially if there's going to be some sort of retention clause.
uh-huh,
If the deals are financed, SBA will only allow a seller to stay on for 1 year. It's just
okay,
government guidelines. Some conventional lenders can allow more. But I think it's the wrong thing to do, because especially if personal relationships have been built up for 20 years or so, that you just can't tell the seller to pick up and go. You know, there
right,
are nuances in these returns that only the seller knows. Or you see, it helps when you're staying in the same location and there is staff. And what I try to do in total is promote continuity, that nothing really has changed. We've perfected, we try to say it's a merger, but I've perfected a sale.
okay. So if I'm a buyer now and I'm interested in buying practices, would I also contact you about buying the
Absolutely.
practice?
Absolutely. Yes. This is not solely about uh, uh, sellers. In terms of the transaction, my fee is 99% of the time paid by the seller, but
Okay,
I'm here to put a deal together, and I need buyers because somebody has to
okay,
be on the other side. It's
sure,
tough having a wife as a lawyer. I can't represent them both, so
right,
I rather represent the person who has the asset to sell.
okay. So if I were a buyer and I'm out there looking for either a purchase or a merger or something like that, I would contact you, but you would still be representing the seller of the business. Is that correct?
In a real technical sense, just yes.
Okay,
Uh, but because I have represented both parties, but it's difficult.
yep, I'm
Uh,
sure it is.
and sometimes fees are split, but I'm pretty fair. Because I don't like calls from both parties that there's problems with the deal post-closing. So I
Right,
try to and I've got no problems telling my seller if they're not in the right, or if they're being unrealistic, they need to get real.
uh-huh, okay,
But it's tough. It's tough to having a wife as an attorney to really represent two sides of the coin.
sure, I can understand that. If we wanted to sell our practice, how would we get in touch with you about filling something out? I mean, I know we used to see you at the seminars and things like that, but this year with everything being a webinar, how would they get in touch with you this year?
Well, they can go to the two sites. They can go to one site. They can go to National Accounting Sales and click on, and there are forms, or they can send an email to and this is Delmarva territory, to Jerry, which is Jerry Costelli, who is my Rockville, Maryland, Virginia, and Delaware director. And Jerry's
Uh-huh.
email is jerry@nationalaccountingsales.com.
Okay. Very good. And is there any advice that you'd like to end this up with and share it with our members about buying or selling their practice?
Well, I would say on both sides, deals can get done if both sides are motivated. So I need a motivated buyer and a motivated seller. If you don't have the money but have good credit, I have plenty of lenders out there. The government's throwing a lot of money with PPP at people, with SBA. There are a lot of lenders out there that can provide financing for a deal, and you don't have to buy a big deal. We are looking at smaller deals that I might not normally take to help people who maybe have lost $20,000 in business clients who are not going to survive COVID, and you can replace some business, hopefully at attractive prices.
Okay. When you say you like to do bigger deals, I mean, are we talking $100,000 and up?
Well,
Or
I cover a full gamut.
okay,
I would say 50,000
okay,
to $1 million or 2 million.
okay,
It's lending is easier with lenders with 150, 250 on up with SBA and conventional loans because they don't like doing, they don't want to do the paperwork on a small deal. But a lot of
sure.
them will give credit lines to smaller people.
Uh-huh.
And another reason for doing a deal, if you work out of your house and your wife has been dying for the last 2 years to get you out of the basement, this could be a way to get out of the basement.
Right. All right. Very good. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a
Okay.
pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you again at a seminar real soon.
Absolutely, Bill. Always a pleasure. And if anybody needs me, they can always feel free to call.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you very much. You have a
Okay.
good day.